Welcome back, everyone. Episode 135 of the Jiu-Jitsu Dummies podcast. We're brought to you by Black Belt Digital Marketing. Anything you need to build your business, on or offline, website design, Google Ads, graphic design, even printing, we can absolutely help. Check us out at Black Belt Digital Marketing on Instagram or our website, bbdigitalmarketing.com. You can request a free review of your online presence right there on the homepage. My name is Milton Campus. I'm a Black Belt training out of South Florida. We got Bo and Christian behind the camera. Say hello, guys. Hello. Don't forget to like, comment, download, share, click that subscribe button, do it all. We would appreciate the support. Joining us today is returning guest, black belt and attorney Paul Geller, and we have Professor Rodrigo Mendes. So hang on for a second, guys. I'm going to do a couple of quick sponsor shout outs, and then we're going to dive right in, okay? Thank you to our friends over at Flow and Roll. We're repping a Flow and Roll shirt today. Hands down, the best custom gi and no-gi gear in the business. Don't believe us? Visit them on Instagram at flow_n_roll. Check out all their custom designs. They're working with academies throughout the country. They have an incredible pre-order program that you can be a part of. So you can order all of your gear. He puts it online. Your students order online. Very little money out of pocket. You take the balance. You put it towards your inventory. He gives you, whatever's left over. He'll give you the money. And it's a great way, especially for newer gyms, to get their equipment, get their gear without having to lay out 10, 15 grand, for bigger schools. So check them out at flowandroll.com. Let them know Milton and the Jiu-Jitsu Dummy sent you. If you order anything right on his website, you can get 20% off with code JJD. Leo Optics. Leo Optics is a sunglass and apparel company specializing in signature bamboo sunglasses. I left my glasses at home today, so I don't have them, but check them out at leooptics.com. You get 10% off with code JJD. And then we've got Bioprotein Tech. This is a bioidentical alternative to human growth hormone. I'm currently taking both this BioPro and the one with the Quarter Sleep. It helps with anti-aging, metabolism, libido, immune system, skin, cognition, as well as sleep and stress. All of this with no needles, no side effects. Check them out at bioproteintech.com. You get $30 off with code JJD. All right? That's it. Welcome, gentlemen.
Thanks for having us.
Welcome back.
It's great to be back, especially with this guy.
Yeah. I appreciate you reaching out and bringing Professor. Well, kind of jump right into this. So for those that don't know you, Paul, we'll start out with Paul because you're coming back.
There's people out there that don't know me?
No. I mean, you said freaking names on the building over here. I'm just finding out, right? So you joined us. I actually, the true story, just a couple of days ago, randomly, somebody said, "Hey, man, I watched the podcast for the first time. It's really cool. I saw that episode with Paul Geller." He goes, "That was a really cool breakdown of the lawsuit with Henry Gracie, that whole." If anybody knows, just go back and search Paul Geller, Jiu-Jitsu Dummies. You can check out that episode. But that was that big $46 million judgment against, really, I guess not the gym, but the insurance company. Right. When this guy, the coach, did that back take, kind of forward roll. I don't know what the name of that is, but basically broke his spine or his neck.
He did a rolling back take. Yeah. Leo Vera made
made that famous, right?
Rodrigo and I have disagreed about
who's made it famous.
We had a long talk about that position, yes.
But the student was a white belt. He was an experienced white belt, but he was not
former wrestler. Like he was a wrestler, so he's not new to the mat.
And he ended up getting a broken neck and was a partial quadriplegic.
Sure.
And then there was a whole jury verdict. So we had a nice discussion about
it. That guy, right? He I don't know how long. I want to say recovered, but he's recovered somewhat. He even climbed a mountain.
Yeah, so people have said he's recovered. And there is a documentary about him climbing a mountain.
Yeah.
But
post incident, post accident.
And it was really an inspirational story about his recovery. But when I say recovery, he still has a lot of physical limitations.
Yeah.
And he doesn't walk exactly right. And I'm told, I don't know the details, but there's other medical issues still with him. So it's not like it was a full recovery. And again, I'm a jiu-jitsu practitioner. I understand injuries. I've been injured. Nobody intends for that to happen. But this guy walked into an academy like we all do several times a week, and he couldn't walk out. And so, again, without rehashing that whole episode, that's what insurance is for. And I think the insurance company let the academy down, let the victim down.
Because they're the ones that decided to take this to court, right?
That was the problem, I think, right? They didn't want to pay the premium.
Yeah.
They could have paid a very small amount and just paid him off, paid him out. And they didn't. They wanted to take it to court thinking they had a case, and lo and behold, $46 million judgment later. Do you know if they appealed? It's appealed, yeah. So nobody's got that money in hand.
No, but typically, I mean, cases can still settle during the appeal process, and I hope that happens.
Is it? Yeah, likely. So you were saying you guys disagree about the rolling back take? What?
Yes.
Who made it famous?
We went on for hours and hours and hours.
Really?
Not necessarily on who made it famous, but there's a lot of shit talk about Henner, because Henner said the guy didn't do it properly because he kind of locked. It's a roll where the victim couldn't post with his hand because it was held by Henner, and
because he could have posted, and probably if he would have posted, he would have rolled with
the other way, right?
Versus he got stuck and fell that way.
This is what I think happened. I think
the head gets caught.
I think he did get stuck.
Yeah,
and I mean, it's very hard. I mean, been rolling for over 30 years to predict exactly what kind of move I'm gonna do, when I'm gonna put my finger. It happens, and I mean, as a black belt, I roll and I bent my finger, and I shouldn't. Right? That's what was discussion.
It's live rolling. Right. The point I think was that you can learn a technique, kind of the A, B, C, step by step, but in a live roll, you improvise and you're not sure what.
Yeah, you have human beings involved. You know that one little change, the foot placement, hand placement.
But so my point was that I think that there are safer techniques when so the victim Greener was turtled, and Sinistro was behind him. There's so many ways to take the back to Peruvian necktie. There's all sorts of things you can do. He did a flashy move that
should he have done that move on a white belt as a black belt coach?
This is me.
Yeah.
I would.
You would.
And that was our discussion.
Okay.
I get a spazzy wrestler wants to prove something going a white. We don't see the roll before.
Yeah.
Right? We just saw that moment.
Yeah.
But what happened before? He might be getting slapped, kick, and then just what, I'll pull that move. Then the move, and that happened.
I get that. I'm of the mindset that when it comes to a white belt, again, this guy, different experience, he'd wrestled, so you immediately have just a different level of mat experience. But I know for me, I'm not a coach, I'm not a teacher, but I'm very careful what I do to somebody when I don't know if they know how to react.
Right.
So it's I'm very careful, super slow, again, and every once in a while you get a spazzy white belt and you got to teach them a lesson, right? And I mean, that happens too.
And freak accidents happen, right? So this was an accident. So my point in saying I don't think he should have done it, I don't blame Sinistro, and I don't think he's a bad guy or had any bad intentions.
Yeah.
It falls back to the insurance company. Yeah. What is an academy owner paying insurance premiums for if not to cover a horrific injury that happens in the course of rolling? But I also think I've changed my view as I've gotten older, right? So I've been with Rodrigo a very long time. And you recall, we used to have, rolling in the academy, it's still tough, strong rolls. But
sure.
We used to kill each other. I mean, for sure. Guys used to go at it. And I feel like when I was in my 30s, I loved that. It was competitive. And, you hear people say, you shouldn't compete in the gym. Like, that's for tournaments, but in the gym, you're helping each other, you're learning. Of course, there's going to be some tough rolls. We used to freaking go 100%.
Is that the jiu-jitsu culture's change, or you guys have just gotten older? I mean, I'm old. I started at 41, so.
Good question. I believe there was a time in culture back. I'm from Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, born and raised. So I think in the 90s, that was very important, because we have to prove to different martial arts where we're coming from, right? That's why this whole history is about jiu-jitsu and surfing scene. We fight the surfers fighting the jiu-jitsu guys. That was important at the time. That was how we promote ourselves. Going to other people's gym, knock the door and challenge, which was great, but that was 90.
Yeah.
And I mean, times evolved. We didn't have internet. We didn't have none of what we have right now, podcasts and stuff like that. Nowadays, the way I look at it, I think a school should divide levels. The reason why the levels, not to water down the sport, is just to put right people in the right place, right? You just learn how to crawl. I cannot throw you to run a marathon. I got to train you slowly how to walk that's what we do at the school. So my white belts, before the first stripe, they don't got to do any live roll.
Really?
And some of people hate that. But I came from school so-and-so, they got to roll the first day. Good for them. I done that in the past, and I changed my mindset. I believe that I should treat my first 0 to 1 stripe with techniques. You need to understand what it's all about, how your body responds, how you proper roll, how to proper break fall. 1 stripe, they start doing specifics. So they go specific 1 stripe and 2 stripes. Now, on 3rd stripe, they can do the live roll. So what I did is I kind of taught you a little bit for the couple of months what to expect before the live roll.
So now, the specific training, though, are they kind of like,
they are regular.
So it goes into a roll a little bit, right?
Yeah. But they are like
there's a stop to
control. It's a control roll. So let's say I put you on the bottle, right, and mounting you. Your job is to escape from the bottle. Sure. So there's a control right there because after you escape, we stop, right? Or they just keep rolling. He don't know what to do. This is his first day. Tough guy, strong guy. He's gonna slap him. He's gonna body slam. I'm so sorry. So sorry. It's too late. Now I can't walk. You know who to blame?
Yeah, I've seen that. I mean, I see it all the time. You know, even an experienced white belt and then an inexperienced white belt comes in, you know, you get 2 white belts rolling with each other and they go crazy. I mean, I've been like, guys, you got to come down. Somebody's getting hurt and it benefits nobody.
Correct.
You know, and you know, I'm always conscious of the business side of this. What good is it if you know, the coach is losing students and maybe a bad review and I got hurt and, you know, right. So yeah, I can't say, I definitely think that you shouldn't be training right out of the gate. I like the specific training. It's hard in our world if somebody knows about jiu-jitsu to tell them they can't roll. Train.
Yes, correct.
Yeah, it's hard.
And I deal with that a lot.
Yeah.
Right. We have, when they come in, and usually I have people that work my front desk. I have Josh, my son, works in the sales. He talked to people, they want to roll first day.
Yeah.
But they don't understand the risks of rolling first day, right? And then I have the beginner, tough guy, done wrestling. Everybody's a legend. I done wrestling in high school, you know what I mean? I used to be the best of my team, and I mean, I went to nationals. Okay, great. And then he's going to grow into my hobbyist, blue belt, businessman.
Yeah.
He's going to kill my blue belt.
Yeah.
Guess what? My blue belt will have to do something crazy now because I feel like my ego is going down. I'm a blue belt. This kid is first day. Nobody went.
Yeah.
He's going to bad mouth my school because he beat my blue belt, my purple belt. My blue belt will feel embarrassed. Man, I got beat up by these young kids that show up. That's not jiu-jitsu.
It's a bad situation.
That's not jiu-jitsu. You know what I mean?
I definitely, I don't think they should be rolling right out of the gate. I think if you give them the specific training, then they're kind of getting that feel of the roll. But it is true, right? You don't even know how to fall. You know, you ever encounter somebody, I'm sure we've like, you know, oh, you know, jiu-jitsu, like, you know, you're just somewhere that they don't do jiu-jitsu, you're at a party and somebody like, you know, hey, come on, show me a move, right? And what is everybody wants to know a choke, right? So when a student shows up, right, that's their expectations. Like, I'm going to learn how to submit people. And then you got them falling, you know, doing break falls and escaping. And they're like, what the fuck is this? What am I doing? You know, but they have to understand, like, you know, you don't know how to walk yet.
Yep.
And you got to learn this stuff or you're going to get hurt. But, you know. And
that happens to everything, a car, right? I love to drive a car, but you need to learn first what's all about before you take the car for a spin.
Which pedal start and stop here.
It makes sense? Like a weapon, right? I mean, you might be fascinated by a weapon. You're not going to go grab a gun. There's a lot of etiquette about it. Even doing a podcast, you'll show me the etiquette about the distance on a microphone. Everything has rules they need to go through before you jump full on.
So you talked about the like the dojo storming in Brazil. Did you ever do that?
So that was the culture that I was raised on.
Yeah,
right. We were raised on, and you got to remember, back in the '90s, it was 100% fight school.
Yeah,
right. There was not like one person that's a hobbyist. There's not such a thing as a hobbyist. Yeah. You're trying to fight, or you're gonna fight on the streets, or you're gonna fight in a tournament, or you're gonna fight because someone's gonna lock the door and challenge.
Yeah,
you're gonna fight. Yeah, that's for sure. That's what to me was important to have that mentality. But with that said, in the 90s in Brazil, especially in Rio de Janeiro, you have the jiu-jitsu practitioner was someone from 18 years old to 29, maybe. Over 30, forget about it.
He's saying no old farts, Paul.
No old farts.
We're out.
What grandpa is doing here? And that was the mentality. What grandpa? I still remember a guy, a friend of mine, Careca. I was 21, I think, and Careca was doing masters. And that was the joke. Dude, you're doing masters. And he was like, one day you're going to be master. And I remember like was it yesterday? Still 9 years to go, buddy. Don't worry. It's been like 30 years ago.
I remember I started off with a guy who Rodrigo knows, a guy named Marcel Ferreira, white belt, new. And I remember seeing a guy, an older dude that was in there. At the time, he was a purple belt. And I was so impressed that he was so old and still rolling. And most of us were submitting him if we rolled hard. But he was an old guy, and I still thought to myself, like, shit, he's my hero. And I'm way older than him now than he was then. Right? I think he was 49, I'm 55. So I'm that guy now. But I don't feel like it. But it's reality.
But the guy didn't feel like it either.
Right. It's the aging thing. For jiu-jitsu, it matters. And you once said something on one of your podcasts. It wasn't the one I was on, but you talked about, and I'm going to get it slightly wrong, so you can correct me, but that in your view, or you may have heard this, for each belt, it's like a 10-year. So like a 55-year-old black belt would be maybe the equivalent of a 45-year-old brown belt or a 35-year-old purple or a 25-year-old blue. And, obviously that's not a hard and fast rule, but there's something to be said about that. Like our bodies change. It's
kind of like what levels this out. So 25-year-old blue belt and I'm a 50-year-old black belt. Well, the second we get on the mat together, aren't I a kind of brown belt to his purple? The age, strength,
flexibility,
experience, flexibility,
cardio.
those things wind up evening you out.
Recovery.
Recovery.
It's way different. You know how long it would take if you get hurt.
Yeah.
So I like to say, like, I love jiu-jitsu now better than the 90s for the reason where there is a space for everybody. So for instance, I have a 74 years old black belt with Alzheimer's.
Really?
Yep.
Wow.
With Alzheimer's. So to me, it's awesome. I love it.
Yeah.
Right. Here's our every promotion that I have, I tell every young kid, hey, you have an excuse? Hey, look at this guy, 74 and Alzheimer's.
Yeah.
Right. I have a 69, almost 70 years old with a 2-knee replacement and a stance.
Yeah.
And he has his own Instagram channel. How cool is that, man, nowadays? You get to a 70 years old and you live in the dream.
Yeah.
You have your Instagram, you throw your videos, and sometimes I go there, you have like 2 or 3 views, and I tell everybody, guys, come on, do a like, give a like to the guy. But hey, he's living the dream.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Back in my days, he would not even be able to roll.
Yeah.
To even participate. So how can we roll with a guy like that?
So I know my game has evolved as I've been at my school for 7.5 years. It's only my second school. First 2 years at one school, 7.5 years. My game has definitely evolved, and I tell people this, and some people tell me you're crazy. You should roll hard with everybody, but I say because I've been older, but I've always been the bigger guy. I've been, I'm a little under 230 right now because I got sick. I just told you before I lost a little weight because I was sick, but a little under 230. But I'm still probably, for the most part, most of the time, the bigger guy in the role. So again, it levels it out, right? A younger guy. So I usually, because I'm not there to compete, I'm not looking to open a gym or coach, or I'm there for me. I'm there for me, for the camaraderie, for the health benefits, maybe a little ego, just want to feel young, right? I let my partner in a role, they control the acceleration of the match. They want to go hard, I'm going to level up. If they're, we're, kind of flowing, I'll flow with them. They absolutely have control of where this role is going to go. And I also pull guard a lot because, again, it's not so much fun for me to just take you down and get on top. And, I want you to, I'm there. Again, I understand the business side of it too. I want you to have a good time. I want you to enjoy it like I enjoy it. Just me, knee on belly, knee on a neck, or just holding you down, flattening you out. That's no fun for you, and I recognize that. I'm still getting my role in. I'm going to practice. I had a buddy tell me, he's like, you should be, he was telling his higher belts, you should be beating the shit out of the young guys technically. Not beating the shit out of them, beating them up with technique, moving around, flowing on top of them, showing them what jiu-jitsu is. And I understand that. I didn't agree with him, but then when he says, like, technically, you can use your technique and do the things that you have to do. You can even play a little catch and release without them even realizing it. But use your technique. You should be practicing your technique on somebody that has less experience than you. But again, in most of my roles, I let you, control the pace. I have a couple of big guys that are bigger than me, and there's one guy that's probably around my weight, just got his blue belt, half my age, fucking tough. He's a tough role. So, pulling a guy my weight on top of me or pulling guard isn't the smartest thing. So, somebody like that, I got to battle to get on top a little bit, and then, cook them a little bit, play with them a little bit. Play, like Coach said, play with your food, right? So that's the way that I do it. What's your take on that? You're rolling with somebody that's obviously got less experience than you.
I think it's.
You remember? I'm sorry, Miguel. My co-host Miguel.
Yeah.
He was like, smash them all. Yeah. He's still a blue belt. He should have his purple belt. He's moved around a little bit, but he's like, smash them all.
No, I think what you said,
mercy.
What you said is exactly right, which is, it's very important to flow, and that's something I've had to work on because
big time.
He'll tell you my.
We'll get into the secrets.
My mentality was always like I rolled hard, and I've had these flow rolls with other guys who know jiu-jitsu who are decent, and it's like it always escalates. And I think he's like you said, you'll level up to your opponent.
Yeah.
I think he's going a little harder, so I'm like, fuck this, I'm going to go hard too. And we've talked afterwards. He's like, "Why'd you go hard?" I'm like, "Cause you fucking did."
Yeah.
And he's like, "No, you did."
So I have a cool story actually.
Nobody wants to lose even in the flow roll, right?
I have a cool story. So I signed up Paul. Paul was a blue belt to do Miami Open, right? But why do I have to do? No, you do Miami Open. You're doing very good. You're training really good. I think you'll do well. First was a cutting weight. He struggled. I even have his wife calling like, "Don't let Paul do that again." He got so into it, cutting weight, not sleeping, not eating, looking for the tournament. But the point here was the fight itself. Paul was the first guy, my first student ever, that I have to, instead go tell the guy, "Come on, do a pass." I have to coach opposite. Slow down, don't do it, don't break it, don't go.
Yeah.
He went to this guy arm, right, on the Kimura, I think, of the tournament. He was so into it that I feel like I was screaming to a dog to let it go the bone.
The bone, yeah.
Paul, don't do it. Don't do it.
Look, everybody taught me when you're in the gym, you don't want to hurt somebody. And I'm not ever trying to hurt somebody, even at a tournament. But
right. But
until I feel a tap, I'm going to fucking... Yeah.
Kill.
I had 6 fights, 6 submissions.
Yeah. That was a good day. That was a good day. But back in there, what I mentioned about the kill the white, the lower belts or the lower weight. I have a black belt of my school right now, actually. He's one of our instructors. He's a Cuban guy, very small guy. And he got good really fast. Really fast. He trains a lot, but he got really good. He's probably one of my most technical guys nowadays. And it's this tall, right? Even when we were taking pictures with he used to teach the teens class, we used to joke, "Come on, he can't be in the back." He looked like a teenager.
Put the coach in the front.
Yeah. And he always said something that becomes my phrase, right? He say, "You gotta kill them with kindness."
Okay.
So Renat will be the guy that will murder you. And when they get so embarrassed, he come to you. Is everything okay? You're doing good. Do you want water? So that was the beauty. And you got to be good to do that.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you become like the idiot that want to murder everybody. So I think if your level of jiu-jitsu is there, that's the best. That's what we're looking for. And I don't care how big or small. The difference is because we're big guys, no matter what you do, they're going to always complain. You're too strong. You're too heavy. They don't want to give the credit.
What do you think about that? That whole, like, don't use your strength. I think, like, you're not going to tell a guy that's flexible not to use his flexibility, a guy that's fast not to use his speed. Why do they tell it not to use our strength or not to use our weight? I believed it in the beginning, and now I'm just like, but that's one of my biggest assets.
You got to use it. And that's why I like Renat. I mentioned Renat because he's actually the guy that he's happy. If you go there, he'll tell you, no, dude, go full on. Use your strength. Because he wants to prove you that his jiu-jitsu is good enough to neutralize you, submit you, and he still open that big smile. Are you okay? Do you want water? Kill with kindness. You got to kill them with kindness.
Yeah. So how did you did you start at American Top Team?
Yeah. So
and then how did you guys meet? So how did you wind up with?
So my
Tinder.
What did he say?
Tinder. We swiped. I don't even know. Look, I'm so not into that whole.
So you got to type,
social
huh?
media. No, it's funny.
You like bald.
Bald big heads.
Okay, now
He threw you off. How did you guys meet?
So I was with a guy named Marcel Ferreira, who was American Top Team, one of the sort of original guys. I trained with Marcel. I trained with Pahumpa. I trained with Dustin Dennis, like a lot of the originals. And then I don't remember the exact timing, but Marcel ended up moving back to Brazil. I think his wife wasn't so happy here or whatever. He got injured in an MMA fight. Murilo Bustamante, who gave him his black belt, was cornering him. And I think everybody expected Marcel to win that fight. And he ended up taking a lot of shots, and the referee probably should have stopped it before he did. And he took a couple of extra hammer fists to the head.
Wow.
He ended up going back to Brazil. And so then I was sort of wondering, what I was going to do, who I was going to go with. And I saw a flyer that Rodrigo was teaching jiu-jitsu in a Taekwondo academy in Boynton Beach. And I just wanted to check it out. And I will say this, there's a lot of things I can say about Rodrigo. He's literally one of my favorite people on the planet. Not just because his jiu-jitsu is amazing and he's an amazing coach, but I just remember sitting and we talked for maybe a half hour, 45 minutes. And he just has a way of connecting with, at least with me, but I think with people. And I was like, this is where I want to train. And so that was it. I was a blue belt. And we have an interesting story. Remember the first? So the story gets better. So we connect with the guy. I was just moving from Boston to here. And that was a time that was still like looking for Taekwondo, karate schools to teach. And there was so many schools around. And I'm so grateful that Taekwondo school opened the gym for me. Like, listen, you can have class after 7 p.m. or whatever, or daytime, I don't have classes. So Paul came in, and I can't remember how, but someone told me, hey, do you know who that guy is? Yeah, Paul. He does jiu-jitsu. Yeah, he's a big-time lawyer, man. That guy knows a lot about law. He's very famous, all these lawsuits and blah, blah, blah. I said, great. So in a very small class, like probably 8, 10 people, just starting the program. So Paul goes to row with this guy, Sean, his name. I don't know how I remember that. That was a long time ago. Sean. Yeah. So he was bartender, right? Bartender. So I sit down kind of like watching the row, and then I saw this commotion going on in the corner and stops. And I'm like, what happened? So Paul turned around. He get like almost like old school, like Forrest Griffin fights, blood all over his face, right? I mean, gushing blood. And the first question that he asked, does someone have a camera? And that's it. That's it. I barely started my career here, and I'm done. I'm going lawsuit, get deported, go back to Brazil. And then Kung Fu Joe's like, I have a camera. Back in the days, it was not even iPhone like nowadays. So he had a camera, has a phone. So, and then he calls me. Hey, professor, come in here. So like, great, a lawyer get blood in my school, wants to take a picture with him. And then he say, raise my hands. Yeah. I was just like, fuck. Do you have that picture? I probably
You gotta send me that picture. We need that picture.
There
was
blood all over.
But the story gets better. Actually, the school was right in Boynton Beach, was closer by Boca. So we have a party going on the night after or 2 after. So I go home, I tell my wife, like, man, I have this. So I tell the same story to my wife. It's like, wow, something's gonna happen. I said, nah, the guy's nice. That was just fun. So I'm walking to this party at the Boca Resort. So everybody's dressing like a resort. Just got to Florida, all the boats and the rich people. And then my wife turned around like, dude, look at that guy. He must get into a big fight. And when I look at it, it's Paul coming in with that huge black
stitches.
And stitches on, and he's rocking pretty good. But the best is
Badge of Honor. You walking around like Badge of Honor, right?
He's got a little.
The best is, man, he has this vesty. Was a very fruity vest.
Look, I thought I looked good, and he
looks like a rock star, like an MMA guy with a black eye with a vest.
I never wore the vest again because he was relentless.
I told the guy, man, you look very fruity. And my wife, like, you don't even know the guy. So long story short, become friends later, and talked to his wife, Leslie, right? And she's like, by the way, just to let you know, that was Paul's favorite vest.
Never worn it again.
Never worn it again. He's like.
You mentioned Boston. How'd you wind up? Did you go right from Brazil to Boston? How'd you wind up in Boston?
Yeah, I went straight
I didn't
to
know
Boston.
there were any Brazilians in Boston.
Oh yes, that was early 2000 actually. I came to America to fight the Pan American in Orlando.
Okay.
And I love it. So I went back to Brazil, looking for the opportunity to move to America to teach. And at the time, there was a place for me to teach in Boston. And not a Taekwondo school, actually. The same school that Bill Blanks. No, Bill Blanks, the guy who did the Thai bowl.
Billy Blanks.
Billy Blanks. That's the same school that he came from.
Really? Okay.
Yes. And I was so naive, I did not know. I ended up going to Boston to teach. So I brought with me 2 gis and the flip-flops. I didn't know there's snow in Boston.
You thought it was like Florida.
I was Florida. I was like, I'm going to America. I'm in America. That was like at the beginning.
The Javianas, right? The Javianas, right? Yeah.
That was the beginning of a migration of Brazilians coming to teach here. Now everybody come to teach, but back then was not many people coming. I even remember I was being in shape. And not anymore because I got sponsored by Dunkin' Donuts, Burger King, and everybody else. America loved me, right? So I remember to wear my Speedos, and I want to keep in shape. So I tell my roommate, hey, there is any place that I can go to exercise? He's like, yeah, man, there is this place here next door. They have an indoor pool. You can go for laps. That's great. So I go there. I jump in the pool. Everybody leaves. Right? I have no clue what
You're
happened.
in your Speedo?
I go home, I tell my roommates, like, dude,
you can't wear
did you wear your white Speedos? I say, I did. Don't do that here.
Yeah.
The whole place evacuated. All the moms, the kids, they'll run away. This Brazilian guy, brown, with the white Speedos.
Oh, Jesus.
So, yes, that's how I moved 2000. In 2004, I got sick of the weather in Boston. It was too cold, too much for me. I love it, but the weather was too much. I ended up moving to Florida, and that's when I was looking for a place to teach. I had a little place in Pompano for a couple months, I capoeira school. And then we found this place in Boynton. We ended up moving to Boynton. And since then, we moved to Delray. It's been Delray now for 15 years now.
Special thank you to the crew over at Flow and Roll for all their support. Flow and Roll is renowned for their incredible no-gi rash guards, shorts, and leggings. Flow and Roll has quickly become the premier custom apparel provider for academies big and small throughout the United States. Reach out today to discuss your custom order and ask about their incredible pre-order program. You can send an email to flowandroll@gmail.com or visit their Instagram at flow_n_roll and shoot them a direct message. And yes, they can create an awesome custom gi for your academy as well. Visit flowandroll.com to check out their awesome designs, and while you're there, pick up a jiu-jitsu dummy signature tee exclusively at flowandroll.com. And remember, you'll get 20% off your purchase of t-shirts, rash guards, or gis with code JJD.
And you, what gym did you?
He's right from the beginning.
So
in that gym,
I've been with Rodrigo since, and I was living in Delray at the time, so Boynton wasn't too bad. Delray was even better, and he was in a location on the corner of Linton and Federal for a very long time, and then just recently moved to.
Yeah, it was 14 years, I guess, there.
When I first moved here, I came to work for a company, and we stayed in the owner's apartment on Linton and Military.
That's where right now.
That's
across from the Walmart. There was a Walmart right across the street.
That's where they're right now.
Oh yeah.
Right now in Linton and Military.
Yeah, that's when I first moved. I'm like, I'm thinking moving to South Florida, party, and it's like it's quiet. It was nice. It was like where I grew up. Yeah. Not exactly like where I grew up on Long Island, but it was it was quiet. Yeah. It was more residential.
A lot of old people.
Not anymore. I mean, now it's built out. Even over here. I mean, you said you have your office here. This is I used to live. This new building they put up over here,
sure.
It used to be like a townhouse community. I lived there like 20 years ago with my girlfriend. And I came back and started doing the podcast. I'm like, where the fuck is the building? I'm like, it used to be right there. They're putting up this building. This is crazy here.
It's a really cool.
It's turned into like this is Boca Raton's like a city here, right?
They call this downtown. I was like, how does Boca have a downtown? But this is the downtown core.
This is crazy. Yeah, I mean, it's all this construction, all these.
In fact, when I started with Marcel, American Top Team, there's Boca Black Belt Academy, which is 2 seconds from here. Do you know where that is?
Is it the one right here
Marcel
on Federal?
Silvera, it still teaches
right
there.
On Federal, right? Like literally, it's like this sidewalk and then Federal.
Billy Escamani teaches Taekwondo, and he's a black belt in jiu-jitsu.
I used to run around here, so I would run around, go, and
before I did
jiu-jitsu, I always had a punching bag in the house or in the garage, so I used to just like self-taught, watch YouTube videos, do a little thought I was doing like Muay Thai, And then I would run, and I'd be like, I'm going to come to this school eventually. I'm going to come. And then we broke up and we moved.
It's a small school, but it was good. It was a great place for me to start, and they're still in business, which is impressive.
Yeah. This is just. This is not. This is like a freaking city. This is truly a city. They turn this into a city. Yeah. Wait till these buildings get done. I mean, and then the congestion around here is just crazy. But I kind of like it. I'm in Coral Springs. They're doing the same thing in Coral Springs where I am, on that corner of University and Sample. Yeah. There was 3 empty corners where they took a building down on one corner, they're taking the shopping center down on the other. And then there was I guess the Publix got wiped out by a hurricane way back in the day. So all 3 corners are going to have residential and building. They're doing kind of this same thing. So that whole area, they're just turning into a downtown.
South Florida is growing crazy. Yeah. Even my school in Linton and Federal, when I opened the school, there used to be a trailer park next door. And I remember coming in earlier to kick the guys out because they'll be in the bushes eating, peeing. Guys, come on, I got a class coming up soon. Now it's all these apartment complex, like $3,000 for one bedroom. That's how fast
it's crazy.
It's growing.
I mean, I know that a lot of this, well, I don't know what was going on here in Boca, but I know a lot of what's going on was COVID related. Everybody's moving to Florida, lax COVID restrictions, Republican governor. It was just different down here. Everybody's coming down. My fear is that it's going to be, if it changes, and then we're going to have all this empty real estate, and then empty real estate usually leads to, bad shit. But anyway, so yeah, man, it's, this is this is like a very unique relationship. You don't see this often, coach friendships like this, right? People move around so much. I've been lucky, same situation. Like I've only been to 2 schools, and it's like I'm super comfortable in what I consider my home away from home. It's just a lot of people don't get to experience that. I think so many people come and go, but at the same, like people move, life happens, kids, you get married, job transfers.
You move actually.
I have not moved. I purposely I've been in and around Coral Springs, and even like my school's like in Coral Springs, but like right on the border with like Margate. It's like really officially Margate, but if you throw a rock across the street, it's Coral Springs, right? So I've literally like moved and even bought a house purposely. I've never been more than 5 minutes away drive time from my gym.
See, I think,
even now, and I like that. It was one of the my wife and I, when we wanted my stepdaughter to finish high school, but she went to a kickboxing academy and I was going to the jiu-jitsu academy, and we were like, it was we could have moved a little further. She could have driven to school, finished out high school, but we were like, let's stay in the area so that we were both like only just a few minutes away from our academies.
It's a really important point because, look, we're all busy, right? I mean, you run a business, family obligations. I moved to Fort Lauderdale and Rodrigo's Academy is, as we said, it's in Delray on Linton and Military now. And my favorite day of the week is to drive up and roll and train with Rodrigo and Josh, his son, who's here, who's in his early 20s and has fucking cardio. And, and I used to teach the kids.
Where is he?
He just went to the restaurant.
I used to
black
teach.
Black belt? What rank is he?
Blue.
Oh, he's a blue. How old is he?
I'm gonna put blue belt like this. I feel like, and I don't want to ever criticize any instructor for how they give out belts. Josh is really good, and he's grown up on the mats. And I feel like, and you don't have to comment on this, I feel like Rodrigo, first of all, he's a very slow belt giver. Like old school traditional, you earn your belt. And particularly, I believe because, and this is just my thing, we've never talked about this, because Josh is his son, I think Josh would be at least a multi-stripe purple belt in most academies. Yeah. But I think Rodrigo doesn't want anybody to ever say he's giving his kid a belt. So Josh is a tough role. It's fun. Yeah. It's fun. He's really good. But I still will drive up to Delray from Fort Lauderdale, which takes a long time. I just can't do it that often, which is why we haven't taled about 10th Planet yet.
It's on my mind. We're going to bring it up.
There. But that was one of the things. It's literally 5 minutes.
He likes the outfit.
Yeah.
We're going to get there. He likes the outfit.
Here we go.
He likes the outfit.
What's your criteria for promotions?
So we do have, like I say, we split classes. So we have a beginner's class we call challenge, because that's the first thing to do is a challenge to get into jiu-jitsu. Then they go to the regular intermediate class and advanced. So my criteria is time on the belt. I would not promote before the time the federation stipulate. People like talking bad about IBJJF, by the way. I'm not here to defend IBJJF or say they're good or bad. I just believe that most people that complain, they didn't see how they started in the 90s, right? We have tournaments back in the 90s on the backyard. You have a tournament that you go fight at 10 in the morning and you fight at 4 a.m. the next day. Really? For a medal. So now people are so spoiled. Like, you go to a tournament with the AC venue with your name on the board and you want to complain that you pay. Come on, man. So I follow their standards. They say that you cannot get a blue belt before 1 year, so I'll not give it before 1 year. With that say, I take advantage of your stripes, so I kind of know how long you'll be in the belt. I do belt test you. The belt test is something that's so funny to me because I was the one criticizing belt testing forever. I'll never do it. This is going to water down the sport. And actually, I was wrong. Why I was wrong? As soon as I implement belt testing, I force my students to understand more jiu-jitsu. So now if I force you to understand more to become a blue belt, you need to study. Mm-hmm. If you study, you need a partner. So if you study with a partner, you're getting better, the school level gets better. Yeah. So everybody gets better, right? And if one day you have to teach or to do something, I know that you know, right? That's the difference what I think that was wrong back in the days of the whole just giving belt based on performance. Of course, in jiu-jitsu, performance is going to always be the number one thing, but I like to have different criteria too. Some people, they just unfortunately, they cannot perform. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? They'll be like genius. They do, most of them big coaches, a lot of them never competed before. It's just to show that performance wasn't a big deal, but they understand, like for instance, Danahan. How many medals don't Danahan have?
I don't even know.
Do you know what I mean?
Right.
Like, what's his name from the Miao brothers came from them in Brazil. Of course, I'm going to forget his name right now. But a lot of these big coaches, I mean, they never competed. So it just showed to me that you need to be a Paul, right? So Paul is a lawyer, right? You have a badass lawyer and you have the guy that just passed the bar test and became a lawyer. There are levels. Yeah. That's why to me it's important to have a test. Yeah. Just to say like, hey, at the minimum, you understand what you're doing.
To your point, I have one of the guys, originally we started this podcast, it was like me and 4 other people. And one of the guys that started with me, when he was going from blue to purple, his name's Mauricio. When he was going from blue to purple, professor told him, like, I'm going to test. And Mauricio started staying after class, working with the coach, fine-tuning the things. You know, he was given a list of things that he had to do, and he was practicing and practicing and practicing. And I just had a conversation with my coach, and I said, hey, I know he's nervous. He's just like, yeah, I'm not going to test him. And I knew it was like a week away, and I didn't tell him because like he was getting better. Jiu-jitsu was getting better. He was more dedicated. He worked harder. He would grab somebody once in a while and work with them, and now they're both working on their technicals and their basics. And then like the day before, he was fucking freaking out. And I'm like, bro, he's not going to test you. Just don't worry. He's like, oh, no, I don't believe, I talked to him. He's not going to test you. Don't worry. And he didn't test him, but he saw that. So he's watching him do the stuff, and he's got the curriculum down. So there was no need to test him because he saw it. So it was like, I do believe it. When I was coaching at white belt, I was coaching the guys that came in behind me, and I was coaching the kids class because it was a small school. My instructor was a Homeland Security officer. He was like former NYPD, went to Homeland Security. He was internal affairs at Homeland Security. And some days he'd be like, I got to be on a stake. I can't open. Can you open? So I started opening with his wife, and then eventually he trusted me. I was old. I was in my 40s already, so he trusted me. I even say to today, my basics, my skill set, I was better at like my sweeps and, throwing up, arm bars and triangles at white belt because I was doing it I trained 6 days a week. I was always, I would do the warm-ups and we would do the drilling, and then he would come in and do like a move of the day, and then we'd roll. So I was doing it every single day, and I feel like I was more technical back then at white belt than I am even now because I'm not practicing all that stuff all the time. We're just not, learning a new move, or, you kind of fall into, we're big on like lockdowns in my school, and I love north-south, and, it's kind of like I'm always you find yourself in your favorite moves. And again, I'm not looking to coach open a school, so I maybe don't go out of my way to practice those things. And that's maybe bad on me. But I was more technical at white and even blue because I was teaching it every day. And when you're teaching it or you're practicing it every day and teaching it, you wind up saying, oh, I forgot you start to remember where your hands, you said before about your thumb.
Yeah, the thumb, yes.
You remember, my hand should really be here, but you don't see it unless you're teaching somebody else how to do it, right?
Correct.
So then my technical and my basics I felt like they were off the charts. I was really, really good. And, again, that kind of goes away, and my classes were 2 hours, 6 days a week. Now I'm there 3 or 4 days a
hour.
week, 1 hour,
Yep.
you know,
Yep.
you know, right?
Yep.
You know, weekends we do an open mat, it's 2 hours, you know, by an hour and a half in, you're like, you're fucking dead. You're sitting on the wall. So, you know, it's just different. But I mean, can I do that stuff? Yeah. Can I teach it? Yeah. But you definitely, when you're practicing it, you're forced to practice it, or you feel under the gun, you're going to do a test. You're definitely going to get better.
So that's why I do that. So for instance, the white belt classes, right? The 0 stripes, the beginner, we have the whole set curriculum for that. Which I have a student app where they have all the techniques in a student app. We create the student app. We have the book where they follow. And I have my purple belts teaching. The cool thing is this, I'm teaching 2 people. I'm teaching a beginner how to do it, and I'm enforcing on my purple belt when they're on the curriculum to teach to how to properly do the technique. So we all win.
Yeah.
We have a guy teaching yesterday, he's a brown belt now, and everybody's like, wow, how is Ninja doing so good teaching? I don't even remember Ninja 2 years ago stinking really bad. but
No, Ninja,
we love you.
We love you, Ninja.
But by the commitment of coming all the time, repeating all those techniques, getting into jiu-jitsu, he got better.
Yeah.
He made other people better. If he got better and the other guy got better, the school get better. So we all win. So that's the mindset. We have a problem as we start practicing jiu-jitsu and get better in jiu-jitsu. We end up forgetting about the beginning, right? So what we like to do, and I even joke with some of our higher rank belts, they like to just roll. To me, it would be the easiest gig ever. I come in, open the gym, turn the lights on, guys go roll. And I'll be in my office in my laptop, right? But you forget about it. It's very important at the beginning. The first 10 arm bars, the first hip escape, the first front row. That's why I cannot mix those people. Because if I mix them, they'll both be unhappy. Or I'm teaching to a beginner how to beat in bolo, or I'm going to be teaching Paul how to hip escape and break fall. Paul is going to be like, I work all day long. I drove all the way to Fort Lauderdale. I have 1 hour. And I go there, Rodrigo's doing break fall. There is no way nowadays to put them together. That's why to me it's very important to split levels of jiu-jitsu. Also, I love about jiu-jitsu nowadays is become a hobby. Like you mentioned, like you want to have your 3 hours a day of a good time. And you should. And you pay for that. And you deserve. That's why to me, the importance of split there. And back in the days, we didn't have the hobby. We have the fight. Right? Now you go there because you want to wear, Paul likes to go 10th Planet because he likes to wear the fancy rash guards and all the fingers.
Do you bring your vest? You don't bring your vest there?
Oh, for sure he does.
You might get away with the vest there. I got to see what this looks like.
We had a good 45 minutes or so without me making fun of me. So here we go. Yeah.
How do you feel about that, the cross training? And I mean, I think it's, I've told people, I've felt more comfortable after Purple to go seek out other training or go roll with a friend or somebody from the podcast inviting me to their gym. How do you feel about people cross-training at other gyms? Go ahead.
I'm going to jump in for a second. I don't want to cut Rodrigo off, but here's how I feel. And this is one of the things that I respect most about Rodrigo. I feel like there's a lot of jiu-jitsu coaches, owners of academies that will not allow their students to go train someplace else. And particularly a black belt, I'm incredibly loyal to Rodrigo. Loyalty is very important to me on so many levels and so many contexts. But I'm also a martial artist. And I think the key to being a martial artist is you continue to learn, you continue to evolve. And so I think it shows just such confidence on Rodrigo's part that he was so open about it and so supportive. I said, I'm interested in this 10th Planet thing. It fascinates me for a whole host of reasons that we can talk about. Yes, I like the rash guards.
I know that.
But, gosh, I have so many freaking rash guards. But I think Rodrigo, instead of saying, crionch, he said, sure, go do it. I think it'd be great for you. And so now I'm learning some different techniques and people argue about whether it's a really different sport or not.
Yeah. It doesn't work. That's okay. He's happy. As long as he's happy.
So do you think that you could have done that at white or blue, and would you have been comfortable with a white or blue belt doing it versus somebody who's more experienced and now it's like you're adding, they come to you at white and you're molding a piece of clay. If there are two coaches molding the same piece of clay, if that person's coming into it like, I want to compete and I want to be a world champion, maybe. But the average guy that comes in, would you feel comfortable with a white belt training at two different gyms? Not because, it's my jiu-jitsu, but now somebody else is molding this clay, right? I don't think you would. I wasn't as comfortable at white to purple to just go. I used to tell people, I don't want my coach to open up Instagram and see me at another school. If I am going to go to another school, I'm going to let him know, hey, I'm going to this other school. I'm just letting you know my buddy invited me over. And when I did, he never had a problem with it. And I always told him. But again, go ahead.
I would never have done it at those levels.
At a lower level, yeah.
I think, and at black belt, I could still learn a ton. I do. Every time I roll with Rodrigo, I'm still learning.
Yeah.
You know, I saw an interview with Denzel Washington. This may be a little bit off topic, but he still takes acting lessons. And he's one of the best actors in the world. And I thought that was really incredible because he feels like you're continuing to hone your skill.
Fine your craft.
And so I still learn from Rodrigo. Every role, I think, what could I have done better? What could I have done differently? Why did I get caught in this position? With 10th Planet, although I can hold my own because I know jiu-jitsu, they still have some weird things that I'm learning that are hard for me at 55 years old with less flexibility. But I love the process. But you guys only take pictures,
right? I thought you guys only take pictures.
There's some really
I didn't know there was role involved.
There's some really good
10th Planet aside for a second. Again, a white belt comes in. Yep. Again, if we want to say it, a hobbyist, so just somebody that just wants to learn jiu-jitsu and is it white or blue. And he says, hey, coach, do you mind? I'm going to train 2 days of the week down the road.
Yeah. Let me explain my view from the beginning. Okay. I'm very big in loyalty, right? And I appreciate all the loyal students that I have. And that's the reason why actually we're able to stay in the business for so long, right? COVID has some cool stuff happen, right? Unfortunately, a lot of schools have to close down and everything, but I have some cool stories. I could be sit down about COVID and tell them how many students, and I'm not lying, call me to pay for privates through COVID.
Yeah.
And I'll be looking at the number, tell my wife, should I answer? She's like, yeah, because I thought it was another cancellation. And they got like, hey, coach, I want to pay for another 10 group of classes. I say, what do you mean pay for? No, we're doing okay financially. I know you're going to be struggling. So that shows how they want the school to be open. So that was awesome. My point of view is this. If you're training with me, right, we're located in Delray, East Delray, if you call. If you're training with me, I see no reason to you to go visit a school 2 miles down the road. There is no point of going there. That's my point of view. But then you say, hey, I'm spending 3 months in a year in Chicago. Yeah, go visit schools in Chicago.
You kind of have to, right?
Paul lives about, I would say, with no traffic, like a 45 minutes, 1 hour, right? Isn't the guys on the road all the time, busy, traveling, flying? He has a 10th Planet next to his house, right? Hey, the days that I cannot make to you, would you mind to go train? Here's a black belt. Hey, dude, go. I prefer you to go and train than not train jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
That would be like a problem in my ego. I don't want him to go somewhere. But guess what? He's not getting jiu-jitsu. Because of my ego, no. Go train. So that's a particular case right here. So my point of view of cross-training is this. If the school is local, I see no point of view going. But again, hey, man, my brother-in-law trains at whatever, this school, next city. Can I go there this Saturday? Yeah, go for it, man. I don't have that fear of losing.
Do you have a rule, an unofficial rule for them to ask you, or hey, at least just let me know?
It's an unwritten rule that pretty much 99% of them, they ask me, hey, Professor, is that okay if I go visit? So let's say my cousin lives in Miami, he's visiting, they want to go to visit this school in Miami. Can I go? Yeah, go for it. I even refer.
Yeah.
Hey, by the way, you should go to this one because I know the coach and he's a very nice guy. Go visit. I have no problem. Which was different than back in the days, right? I just don't encourage is the next door training. I just don't think it's not even the business.
That's fair, especially because, competitions and there is still this competition aspect to what we do. And you might, you're rolling with a guy that you might fight or you're letting out some of our secrets. I mean, I get that, less so, but if it's right in your backyard, we might see each other New Breed over
that's
here.
Correct. And that's my point. Yeah. But if you're going far somewhere else, like for instance, I train every Monday and Wednesdays. That's one thing too that in core to a lot of jiu-jitsu instructors is their ego is so big, they have so many medals, they accomplish so many goals. A lot of them, they even stop training. Yeah. I train every Monday and Wednesday. I train in Professor Rodrigo Mendes. We get together.
Do you go someplace else or he comes to you?
He comes south, and we get together, a group of us. Actually, this is going to be like a break news. A lot of me, Renato Tavares, which is like a competitor in a way.
I know, yeah. Was my first coach's coach.
Is that right?
Yeah.
We have George Santiago from Excel.
Hanato was Marcel, my first coach's roommate when they first got
Oh,
me,
yeah?
so
Okay.
I know Hanato
Renato's a
too.
Jedi. He's 115 years, I guess. So we all get together Monday, Wednesdays, and we train.
Yeah.
And the cool thing is this, like George has a school about 5 miles from my school. So he's my legit number one competitor business-wise. But guess what? We train together on Thursday mornings.
There's enough for everybody to eat, I think.
That's exactly it. So we respect each other's business, right? We're not trying to steal nobody's students, and we train
It's
together.
not like he's a 10th planet. I mean, 10th planet's not real jiu-jitsu, right? I mean, it doesn't work, right?
So he doesn't wear regular gi with the belt and all that stuff.
So he made a few comments. What do you... You don't have to comment if you don't want to. Do you really not like 10th planet jiu-jitsu?
I was joking. I just give
You give it a 10?
time.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't mind at all.
Yeah.
The good question actually that I like to mention, and that's not the 10th planet to me, is no-gi. I have my whole view, which I have a huge discussion with my son the other day. He's 21 years old. His whole view about ADCC, which I understand. Those guys getting out of the mats and still fighting outside. The camera go rolling. They're almost in a parking lot still. Great.
Right,
It's great. You saw that?
Yeah, they're rolling. They're moving chairs and tables, and they're still going.
They're still going. I understand. But as a sport, I just think we evolved so much. Like, I came from that time. That was cool in the 90s. We fought so hard to have clean mats, to have TV. Why we got to go back there?
Yeah.
That's my point of view. But I understand at 20 years old, that's what flies.
He's pointing at you. You're a no-gi guy? You like no-gi? You prefer no-gi?
No, I like gi.
Look.
So hold on, go ahead.
I know that's
So
what.
this is your son Josh. He's off camera here, but
that's one of them. I only have 4 kids.
No, I definitely say I'd prefer gi. I mean, to me, that's jiu-jitsu. That's original jiu-jitsu. It would always be there. But no gi, especially these last few years, has brought such a influx of people into jiu-jitsu. So I got to credit. And then you look at ADCC, people that have never done jiu-jitsu, and then they see the guys rolling outside the mats. I mean, that gets them. Oh, what's jiu-jitsu?
Exciting.
It's exciting.
What is this thing?
Yeah.
It gets them amped up to learn what jiu-jitsu is. But I go back to the gi too. I mean, I'm always learning the gi.
See, like I know, like my coach, we've evolved to a place where we like to say, like, when we do a move or we're learning something, it's immediately applicable to gi or no gi. Like, we don't do a lot of lapel stuff. Mm-hmm. Yes, we all have a lapel game to some degree, but a lot of times when we're learning something new, he'll very much point out, and this is how you would do it in no gi, or I don't grab the lapel, I'll grab my fingers, or because I want, we have a joke about, sometimes be like, and when you're in aisle 9 of Publix, fighting with some old lady over the last jar of peanut butter, this is how you do it, right? It's like, he said to me, he'll be like, oh, you can't do that. That's a white belt. What do you wrist lock? I'm like, aisle 9, brother. Aisle 9, coach. I'm in aisle 9. I'm fighting that lady for that last jar of peanut butter. So we have that little bit of joke, but I think that I think that that's if there is that argument of like, oh, one or the other, I definitely think the argument of like, well, if you're in a fight on the street, you have a shirt on.
yeah.
I could grab your
100%,
shirt.
100%.
You could be in your suit. I could grab a suit. Lapels. What is this argument about? Well, gi jiu-jitsu doesn't work in the... You have pants. You have a gi.
Yeah.
You have a belt that I can grab. I don't get who the fuck started that argument. It's so stupid.
It really wasn't that. I think it was more MMA. So Eddie Bravo, everybody knows Eddie Bravo, started 10th Planet. And it really is more, my understanding is he was thinking jiu-jitsu for MMA, where you don't have a shirt or a lapel. But you're absolutely right.
Yeah, my comment wasn't 10th Planet related. It was just in general about gi versus no gi.
So that's my problem with no gi, right? I pretty much have no problem. Even if the institution like ADCC, for instance, which is awesome, I watch it. They want to do that. I'm okay still with that, even though I don't think we should. It's all right.
Yeah.
The trash talking, I don't like it, but it's okay. My problem is becoming lately is on the schools opening left and right. Mm-hmm. Okay, so the no gi is taken to a level where it's very hard for me to identify who are you, right? At least I like what Helson Gray says one time, which I love it. I'm not a big fan of everybody wear white gi, even though I think it looks cool, because what Helson say, what should shine on you is your belt. So when you have a room full of white gis, then you can see, oh, brown belt, oh, black belt. And I'm at a time where there wasn't that many black belts. So if someone walked with a black belt, you'd be like, whoa, who's that guy? He must be a legend, right? I remember one time in Brazil, Alan Góes, that goes back early 90s. He walked into a tournament, and I was like, I didn't even know who the guy was. But he was like, I heard the name, Alan Góes. That's pride. Who's that guy, right? Nowadays, everybody's a black belt, right? Everybody's a lawyer in Brazil, right, Paul?
Everybody's a lawyer in Brazil, yeah.
So my problem is what comes to promotion, right? At least the jiu-jitsu, the gi, you have some form of rules and restrictions on time, promotion, belt, this and that. People break the rules for sure, but at least there is some form of agreement. The no-gi, it's getting crazy because now I have people, they are training for 2 years, they are purple belt in no-gi, and they say they're purple belt in jiu-jitsu. They never wear a gi, they don't know how to tie the belt, and most schools, which I'm not going to mention name, around me I have at least 5 schools right now, they even tell these students to put a gi on to get promoted.
When they don't do gi.
When they don't do gi. So now, and famous people around me here in South Florida, there's going to be a lot of messages on DMs on Instagram. But now I get Paul that's training for 2 years only, never put a gi. And you coming in, and I'll give his purple belt with the gi on. Guess what? He's representing jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
So people's expecting Paul to know jiu-jitsu.
He's using me hypothetically.
Exactly.
Here.
Exactly.
We got it.
Exactly.
So let's talk about that though. So I'm curious now. Number one, I'm curious about this because I see myself at some point in the future going to a 10th planet, specifically a 10th planet.
The outfit you?
Because yeah. I'm gonna lose a little bit more weight though, so I can I look good in the no-gi. There's something about it that visually draws me in. I also know that I'm so unflexible that I feel it's going to force me to work on that as part of my game. A little bit of like the Joe Rogan story, right? He's like I looked it up the other day. I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, if you know, I thought that he had gotten his black belt first under John Jacques, and then under Eddie, but he actually got his black belt first from Eddie. I mean, I think he was training with Jean-Jacques first, but he wound up getting his black belt under Eddie first. That's how I read it the other day. I don't know if that article was 100% correct, but I like that idea of I want to start over. I'm not going to stop at my gym, but I would like to start over. Like I tell people all the time, I'm under no illusion. I've been at the same gym for a long time, and I don't go cross-train a lot. I'm a black belt in my coach's jiu-jitsu on what he's taught me. I'm okay with saying that. I could go to another gym and they're more leg lockers, and now okay, maybe I'm a purple belt now, and right. So there's a certain amount of humility when I say that, I know I'm not stupid, but the 10th planet system intrigues me because of kind of the flexibility side of stuff that you see. And it's a whole nother group of movements and moves and, the Dead Orchard and Mission Control and all. And I'm like, man, I try to grab my leg and get to that Mission Control. And I'm like, fuck, I can't get this leg, right? I want to learn that. And I feel like, not that there's a hole in my jiu-jitsu, but I feel like it's this whole other jiu-jitsu that intrigues me.
So everything that you just said were all the things that were going through my mind.
Sure.
So the fact that it was around the corner for me just made it like
easy to do. I'm driving by every day.
Listen, I'm a fan of the podcast, right? Besides being a repeat guest, I've heard you say that a few times. I have no doubt that you're going to end up at a 10th.
I'm going to do it. I know that I'm going to.
And I will say this, all joking aside, and I love the gi and I love Rodrigo. For all the reasons that you just said, it's intriguing to me and it's challenging to me because of a lack of flexibility. And they will tell you if you play the angles right and one of the beauty things about jiu-jitsu is that you can adapt so that we all have our own jiu-jitsu. Mm-hmm. I don't roll the same way you do or you do. And so I think you can definitely pick up some things like the Dead Orchard or different techniques that, and maybe it's just names. You know, Rodrigo may say, "Look,
which is cool." No, which is cool.
Sometimes I'm like, "Hey, I know that. We call that this." You know,
and the thing about Rodrigo, and he's giving me shit about the outfits. It's all good natured. I think you really are fine.
No, it is, and I am.
And I've gone to Rodrigo.
I think he might be a little jealous that you look how good you look in those.
I don't want to put a rash guard.
I do.
I'm rocking a bandana and everything.
I look fucking good in my rash guards. But I've been to Rodrigo's Academy, and there's something called the truck, which is like a classic 10th Planet. He fucking knows the truck. Like, so this whole notion that like Rodrigo is this traditional, he knows everything I've ever tried to show you, including 10th Planet things, Dead Orchard, truck, Vinny Lock. He's got a counter. He can tweak something and make it better for me. I think it all works together. It makes our jiu-jitsu better. And one other thing I'll say about 10th Planet, which I wasn't aware of, the community of 10th Planet, it's a community within the community of jiu-jitsu. But I've been to Barcelona. I went to 10th Planet. They welcomed me like I was their family. I was just in New York this week. 2 days ago, I trained in 10th Planet NYC as if I'm their long-lost relative. I was in Houston for a deposition. I went to 10th Planet. So I think there's not an RMBJJ, which is everywhere. So 10th Planet has done a good job. Now, it's a bunch of stoners and like there's a whole aspect to the community, but they're very welcoming with each other. And I think that's great. And
I think it is. I joke about 10th Planet here now, but I think they are able to get the niche that we miss it. And I got to be honest. So back in the 90s, right, I used to be criticized on my gym by foot locks and wrist locks, which, believe it or not, is still a taboo nowadays, right? But I always...
Not for me. I love them.
I even had an idea before. Actually, I won one of the fight wins against the 10th Planet guy. Yeah, so anyways. So... Yeah, he's a 10th Planet now, right?
Oh, now he's a Liborio black belt.
Anyways, so I got a wrist lock. So I was even going to make a T-shirt, which was a wrist and a lock, and a foot and a lock. Because I always done that since the 90s, and everybody criticized. Back in the days, people would throw like shoes inside the match. They call zapatero, which you go for the shoemaker.
Really?
Yeah, that was a bad thing.
Oh, wow.
I never had a problem with that. I always felt like you were neglecting half of the body. I used to say that like early 90s, right? So I'm not against. And I'm glad that they're able to see that. And you know what? They neglected half of the body. Let's just go ahead and do it.
There's no better move to slow down or to correct the behavior of a spazzy white belt than a nice wrist lock.
Oh, yeah. I love
like,
the wrist
okay,
locks.
all right, listen, I know that I'm not supposed to technically be doing a wrist lock on you, but if you're going to fuck around and potentially hurt me and I can't be here tomorrow, this is how I'm going to slow you down. So I'm going to let you know.
This is my point
and I might
of view.
not even fucking do it really hard. I might just get it stuck there so that you're like, what the fuck is going on?
This is what I do all
and
the
you
time.
can't move.
Most of my wrist locks, I would say 99%, I didn't even get to finish. But I really got into your mind. And you're just like, a tap, 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 tap.
Yeah.
So, and I believe like if I can get you afraid of touch me or give me a fit, I'm winning. I'm in your mind. So now those guys come to roll with me. They roll in like they look like chicken wings. And I love it because if you do, they give them the elbow anyways. So I think like overall I'm winning. So back in there on the whole no-gi movement, I don't dislike it at all. Like I say, I think they are teaching even us, like the jiu-jitsu, the gi practitioners, to pay attention. I'm not going to mention the names, but we saw like the first ADCC a couple of years ago, a lot of big names in black belt getting tapped by beginner no-gis. Just because they didn't know how to handle. Wow, I get caught on these entanglement, and now how do I take my foot? Oh, tap, tap, tap. Like, whoa, so tap. Yeah, he didn't know how to handle that.
I'm doing. I've got a buddy that's his school that they're really good at leg locks and heel hooks, and I have him. He comes to my house. I've been sick, and the holidays we took a little bit of a break. But I have a buddy of mine that I train with. We have a guy comes to my house. I have a room. I have a mat room. Lucky enough to have a mat room in one of the rooms in the house. And he comes over and I do privates. We're just doing leg lock privates. You know, I'm like, awesome. I know is a hole in my game that I've wanted to figure out. And now, you know, I take and I go back to the gym and I, you know, play with it a little bit. We're mostly a gi school, so you know, it's a lot more like the straight ankle locks and stuff. But when we're in the, you know, when we do no gi twice a week. I
a lot of
I'm playing
jiu-jitsu
with
guys,
it,
a lot
you
of
know?
black belts, like old school, they complain because they don't know how to do it.
Right.
Right, and that's a problem.
I
too.
don't complain. I go out and seek out the information.
That's correct.
So when I
That's
roll
correct.
at 10th Planet, I generally only roll with good, experienced guys. At this stage in my life, I've had injuries. We talked about it last time. I've had a hip replacement. I've had knee surgeries. I have a separated shoulder. And I feel like when you're going against young, spazzy, white and blue belts, I'm more at risk, even though I feel I'll win. But when I roll no-gi, I don't know if I ever told you this, my techniques are all sort of the more traditional jiu-jitsu. Like, I'm not a leg locker. Now I know it enough.
Yeah.
I can defend. I can threaten. I can grab a heel hook now and then. But I'm still doing my kimuras and my back takes. And I find myself still resorting to the traditional jiu-jitsu that I've spent decades learning.
When you're at the 10th Planet, are you noticing that they do lean on that other stuff? They don't do as much of the traditional stuff that you understand or know?
Oh, I mean, some do, right? Because there's other guys like me that have a background, but there's a lot of like rolling into like Imanari rolls into legs and stuff, and I just try and avoid that.
Yeah.
When I roll with Rodrigo, I've tried to get some legs, and I hope it's okay with me saying I don't want to violate HIPAA. What are you doing? But he's got a.
I don't feel my left foot.
One of his left from like the hip down to his toes. He has no feeling. So it's like
squeeze as much as you want.
You get something. He's like, just keep squeezing. I don't want to break something, but he's not going to tap because it doesn't hurt.
Oh wow!
So it's really it's kind of weird.
Yeah. Do they do? I mean, I've seen the belts, and we talked about Rogan getting a black belt. Is there? If you're, how long have you been training there?
A year, maybe.
A year, okay.
I'm a brown belt in the 10th Planet system.
So is that like officially?
Yeah.
Is that what they've told you? Like you're a brown belt here. So then that means that in the next few you would potentially get a black belt.
And what I've told them is I don't give a shit. Like I'm not doing it at all for that. I'm so proud to be a RMBJJ black belt. I will always identify myself as a Rodrigo Mendes black belt. And I don't even want to, like, I don't care. They do have ranked rash guards.
Yeah.
So some of my rash guards have the brown.
Yeah.
But and I think that's just a result of like I'm good in the gym.
And did they figure that? Did they go, okay, I see the level that you're at, and we're going to say this?
They said we're not going to make.
Or did they just go, hey, we're going to take you down one rank? Or how did that happen?
They said you can't. They have a lot of black belts that come in. They don't want to just give you a black belt.
Yeah,
it's a different system.
Okay, I'm fine with earning it.
But I think after rolling with the instructor a few times, and they said, he talked to Eddie Bravo, and he said Eddie considers you a brown belt.
Okay,
which is probably similar to what you'll be a purple belt. I'm just kidding.
So this is
that's all we have for you, ladies and gentlemen.
I'm kidding.
So this is my only problem.
No, I mean I'm so not at. I'm sorry. Once I really did get to a place that once I was like at like 4-stripe purple into brown. It's like I really started to not care, and you almost want to be slowed down. You're like, okay, the expectations, and now, like you said, right? You said before with the white gis, and you could see everybody, and he's a black belt, and he's a brown belt. Yes. There's a certain amount of, I don't want to call it pressure. I don't feel that kind of pressure, but there's a certain amount of expectations when you have a belt, and now you're black belt, and black belt walks in, and he's expecting to roll with you like you're a belt. I think there was just that anticipation. Like I used to tell my friends and guys at lower belts, like they would be like, I don't know if I'm ready for blue belt. I don't know if I'm ready for purple belt. And I'd be like, you're not supposed to know everything at purple belt. You have graduated from blue, and now you are going to learn the curriculum at purple. So get it out of your head. You've just completed, right? You don't go to high school and go to 12th grade going, well, I know everything, right? You got to learn 12th grade curriculum. Yeah, right.
And you got to trust the instructor too.
You have to understand that. So I try to tell myself, like I had this conversation with somebody the other day. I'm like, I really truly understand that what people have said. Like now at black, now it really begins. Like now, I trained more leading up to getting the black because I knew it was coming. Like I was going more, I was training more, I was going to the weightlifting more, I was dieting better. Because of those perceived, in my mind at least, nobody was on top of me going, you got to do this. But my own perception of what I thought I wanted to be as a black belt, I've said it on the podcast, I want to earn it. I don't want to get it because of time. I probably should have had it earlier because of COVID, and I blew out my knee. My brown belt was delayed a year. So I wanted to, I really truly wanted to earn it. I didn't want to be like, well, it was just the amount of time. You only come 3 days a week. No, I was like, I was going and I made that little extra effort, and I still am. But the pressure now that I see is more, I'm like a sponge now, and I have a little bit more time because of work. I have a little bit more free time than I did before. So now I'm like, all right, let me go train. So like doing privates on a Saturday afternoon wasn't something that I could do. Working 5 days a week, family, wife, travel. Now I'm like, I could do a 2-hour private on a Saturday now,
That's the beauty about you guys. Like when you got your black belt?
December 17th, just now.
You're fresh black belt, excited to understand that the line starts right now.
Yeah.
That's how I think should be with everyone. I love to see Paul still training, searching for schools. The problem that I'm seeing nowadays with human beings is a lot of schools, they achieve the black belt and disappear.
No, man,
I don't understand that.
I want to die on the mats. I want to be 70 doing jiu-jitsu still, like you said.
Yeah, it become my life pretty much. I do jiu-jitsu. My wife does jiu-jitsu. All my 4 kids, they do jiu-jitsu. So to me, it's very hard to even understand how you not do it. But people work so hard to get their black belts, and I hear this all the time. Oh, so-and-so, he stopped training. Oh, so-and-so, he disappeared. I just don't get it. But I think it's the pressure that some schools, they put it on. Hey, now you have that black belt. You got to honor. And now guess what, man? You take 3 months off, you're a human being. You got a flu. You got 3 months off. You're going to have a hard time with the Joshua blue belt.
Yeah.
Right? But that should not be the problem. Don't let your ego be bigger than you. And that's what's happening nowadays.
No, man. For me now, I'm like more excited about jiu-jitsu than I've ever been.
At my age, whereas in my 30s, I think the main benefit of jiu-jitsu was the physical, the competitiveness and the physical exercise. And that's still a huge part. But now it's such a mental
therapy.
Yeah. It's a stress reliever. And I'm under a lot of stress. And that hour or 90 minutes in the gym, people talk about mindfulness and being in the moment. You're in the, there's nothing more in the moment.
What else can you really be thinking about when somebody's trying to break your arm?
Yeah, that's correct.
Or choke you, literally, quote unquote, kill you, right?
The camaraderie, like before and after we roll, I could sit and talk to Rodrigo for 15, 20 minutes, a half hour. And it's therapeutic and it's great. So I think jiu-jitsu continues to be a huge part of who I am. And, I'm not sure, my wife, is very concerned about my health because I've had some major injuries, and she doesn't want me to not be able to, we spend time in Colorado, we love to hike. And but I can't stop doing it. I just can't,
That's why, I go back to, I train the way I want to train. And, I guess, there'll come a point too, I'll never turn down a roll, but as I get older, maybe I don't want to train with the spazzy way. It always feels like when I get hurt, it's getting hurt with somebody that doesn't know what they're doing or just goes too crazy, doesn't have the discipline and doesn't understand. Like they see the black belt or the brown belt, I'm new at black belt, so that you're right. They saw the brown belt and they're like, okay, kill. I got to beat them. I'm not, who said this? There was a coach, a black belt that came on, he says, I'm not someone that you have to get through. He's Mike the Spider Ninja I forget his name. Mike Bidwell. He said, I am not someone that you have to get through to complete your journey, right? Michael Jordan didn't have a one-on-one with his coach before every game. Okay, you could beat me, so now you're worthy of going out there. I could still coach you and you could be better than me. I'm not somebody you have to get through. And you have to have that mindset. So I think some of these younger guys, when I one of the ways that I feel like I can calm down a spazzy guy is to start to coach him a little bit. Hey, let's start from here. Hey, that thing that I did on you. Hey, come here. I'm going to show you how to do it. And when I think it gets the spaz out of them when they start to look at you as a mentor and a coach, you could still have your battles, but I've told people that's one way that you kind of calm somebody down, and vice versa. The higher belt that beats up on you, if you're a white belt or a new guy, ask him questions. You get him into teaching mode, and now it's less about killing you And we all love teaching somebody, right? Right?
Yeah.
You do it because you love
Sharing,
it,
yeah.
right? I love sharing this, and somebody goes, "How do you do this?" And I'm just like, "Oh,
Right.
I've honored that you've asked me, and I want to teach you." And I am somebody who says, like, if I can make you bet, like, I love teaching the thing that I get somebody on 1,000,000 times because I want you to make it harder for me. I got to figure out how to do it better if you start to defend it, or I've got to go to something else. And my coach calls it spamming. He's like, every time I get into a north-south, he goes, "There's Milton spamming again," because I got everybody with the north-south, right? So it makes me, if I make you better or teach you how to defend it, then I've got to get better, right? So that's the way I look at it.
You're right. And the thing is, like, people ask me all the time, like, accomplishments, like making a jiu-jitsu world champions. To me, I think jiu-jitsu grows so much, and I see the growth from the beginning.
Way back, yeah.
Yes. And I love to see, like, everybody has a reason to be on the mats. Yeah. And those are valid reasons. Like Paul say, I love the camaraderie. Great.
Yeah.
We have people that coming in that dealing with depression, people that just got divorced, people that just lost someone.
Yeah.
And the beauty is somehow on the mats, we're able, like, as a family, to, like our own church, we're able to support everybody. That's why we need to understand when we roll with people, what they're looking for. Like, I have guys in my gym, they want to rock. And that's okay. They make explicit, like, I'm that guy. If you want to roll hard, go with that guy. But I need to understand that at 70 years old, he's not there to rock.
Yeah.
Or maybe he is, but his rock is different than your rock. You know what I mean?
I definitely and probably have been a part of when I didn't know any better. With the gym that I'm in now, we had some old timers, and I used to roll hard with them, and they did not stick around. And I learned, from just, it seems obvious,
over time.
But I was the new guy trying to prove myself, coming as a blue belt. These guys are old timers, and I'm coming in hard. And I was in my mid 40s. I had a little bit. I was stronger and faster even in my mid 40s than I am now. And I know that I probably contributed to some people leaving and not staying at our school because, this new guy is beating the shit out of me, and they were maybe 10 years older than me. And they're just like, this isn't fun anymore. I didn't make it fun for them. And I started to slowly realize and then, impart that on the guys that came behind me.
And that's why I separated
He's not
people.
here for the same reason.
That's why my separation is just because that was not even your fault. It's just, and not even your school fault. It's just an unwritten rule that nobody knows until things happen, and now you don't show up anymore. So in my school, I'm very vocal about that, right? I even have a guy actually visiting the school today. This morning, he was there from the Korea, and so we're talking about his top team Korea. So we're talking about training there, and he was like, "No, professor, in there everybody's very small." So he's a big boy. He's an American guy. He's an American guy that lives in Korea teaching English. So he trains there. So they split the groups by weights and by size, right?
It's not the Lloyd Irving guy, is it, that used to come?
No. It's Korean.
He's like the Korean expert. Remember that guy?
No, that was a different guy. That was a different guy. That guy has a lot of stories. I can have just one podcast on him. But so these guys from top team Korea, and like, no, we split. They split by 3 weight groups. So if you're under whatever, how many kilos, you go to the left. If you're this weight, because they see the importance of rolling with someone like
evenly matched.
Because at the end, and I see that more nowadays, I want you that tomorrow. Yeah. I'm looking for longevity right now. Right, when I'm joke about the 70 years old, the 74 that I have, I want to be that guy. Right, my son will have a breakfast today and talking about that. I want to be the 70, 75 years old still. And you can say like, no, my dad is still rolling. Yeah. I know I'm be rolling the way I'm rolling right now, but he rolls. He put the gi once in a while, and but I can't. I won't be able to know that to roll with a younger kid.
My coach will say, especially when the mats are really full, he'll say, "All right, grab somebody that makes sense." And sometimes he'll be like, "No."
Yep.
Doesn't make sense. Like he's like, "No, come on, get like it's maybe a big guy with a little, but they're buddies." So they're like, we're going to roll together. But you know what happens. Friends are not friends. Right. Once that bell rings, right, you start going crazy. So I do like that. And it's something that, that we're conscious of. And I do think that it's the responsibility of the colored belts, especially the higher belts, to be like, hey, well, I'll take him. There's a little bit of a joke. Every time a big guy, again, I was usually the bigger guy. So every time a bigger guy would come my size or bigger, he'd be like, "Hey, Milt, look, Amazon Prime just delivered you your new training partner for the day." So, then I would happily take that big person and be like, "Oh, God, this guy's going to crush me today," But
I have a joke all the time, too, before training. And it becomes a whole joke in the school. Every time before I ring the bell, I say, "Guys, even though everybody signed a waiver, don't break a toy."
Yeah, I like
So
that.
they
Yeah.
kind of understand, don't break your toy.
Yeah, yeah.
I need my toy to play tomorrow.
Yeah,
if I
yeah,
break
yeah.
my toy today, now I have no arm.
I like that
He's
one.
not gonna come tomorrow.
I'm gonna
Don't
use
break
that.
your toy.
All right, we're gonna get into the last part of the podcast. Before we end, we have a group of questions that we you ready, Bo? Well, this is our sound effects guy. So we're gonna get into. I have a kind of the most common questions that people ask. So I just put them all into the end of the podcast. They've grown a little bit and changed a little bit, but we call it the
drill down.
There you go, sound effects, right? No expense spared here. All right, so we're just gonna go down these questions, and you can elaborate if you want, but like this is a little bit of a speed round in a sense. So okay, so preference, gi or no gi?
Gi.
I love them both.
You love them both, but if you had to choose,
I'm a gi guy, but
Okay.
I'm enjoying now learning a
Okay.
new journey in no gi. But I'm a gi guy.
takedown or pull guard?
Pull guard.
Pull. Music during rolling, yes or
Yes.
100%.
no? You like it?
Yes.
Okay. What's your music preference? What's your go-to?
It varies. I
Yeah.
go for everything. I go from rock and roll, I go from old school
Yeah.
rock and roll to reggae, which
Yeah.
my guys will hate it. Come on, reggae again.
Oh,
Yeah,
we were
we're
playing
mellow.
reggae the other night. I loved it.
We're
I was singing. I
mellow.
was rolling,
That's
and I
it.
was singing Bob Marley.
That's
I
it.
don't know if you remember this. So I have mats at my house, and Rodrigo's come to roll at my house a few times, and I'll put on music, and like I do like 80s.
Very fruity.
I think
Very
like
fruity.
In Sync or Backstreet Boys came on, and he just stops the roll.
Is it like 80s dance music or just like 80s
whatever,
pop?
just like 80s
anything?
pop.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
don't know.
Okay, listen.
My playlist has not changed in 35 years.
Listen, I was rocking Jesse's Girl on the way here. So, all right, I'm going to ask this of you first. Annoying things that coaches do.
Interesting. Annoying things that coaches do. Well, I can tell you a story. We shared the story the other day. It's not really annoying, but so I was rolling with the owner of the 10th Planet Pompano. His name is Matt Walsh, very, very good black belt. And we're in a position, and all of a sudden I kind of feel like almost like an itch in my nose. But we're sort of in a there's certain positions where you kind of could take a deep breath, and I'm holding him and he's holding me, and I feel something. So I kind of just flick my nose, and a booger goes to the mats, and I'm ready to continue, and I start trying to transition, get an underhook, and he goes, "Wait a second, did you just flick a booger?" And I was like, yeah, but no, I'm good now. He goes, "No, you just fucking flicked a booger on me." And so I was like, "Oh shit, I'm so sorry," and I cleaned it up, and then like a week later, I'm at your place, and I have a thing on my toe, so I had the toe wrap, and the Band-Aid came off, and I'm just looking to the side, and Rodrigo looks at me, he's like, "What the fuck?" So I'm all about sanitary mats. I think it's really, really important. But in a week, I had two coaches kind of call me out.
You're falling apart, Paul.
That's it.
So annoying things that students do.
Knowing too much.
No, yeah.
Yeah, especially
I know,
lower,
coach. I know.
Especially the lower ranks, because a lot of people, they don't see sometimes the benefit of repetition. So you can see when you're teaching the faces, like, and you show a technique, they go do something completely different.
Yeah.
Guys, the menu is rice and beans.
Yeah.
I know you ate rice and beans before, but that's what we're serving.
Yeah.
Don't come in here do your pasta, because we're not doing pasta. So that's kind of annoying, because almost like taking the credit away of what you're teaching.
Yeah.
That'll be annoying.
I'm guilty of my coach coming by and be like, do what? No, do this, and then me going, well, I'm trying to do this thing from what you just taught. Like, no, rice and beans,
exactly
right? No, we're doing rice and beans. So I get it.
That's
so
exactly it.
I've been that student. What would you be doing if you hadn't have found martial arts?
It's a great question.
Was there
Jiu-jitsu?
something that you loved to do when you were a kid, or anything that you thought you were going to be? Like, I thought I was going to be a cop like my dad.
Yeah, I thought I was gonna be a surfer. So I grew up surfing since a young age. I grew up with my best friend in Brazil. Growing up is the biggest big rider in Brazil, Rodrigo Mendes.
Okay.
Shout out for Rodrigo if he's watching. And so I was involved with surfers. So I kind of knew from a young age that I would be in their line. And with that was a lot of jiu-jitsu people there. So I was introduced very early to jiu-jitsu. So I kind of knew that was my line of work.
Sure.
And I came from a family where everybody, we don't have lawyers, but everybody has a college degree. Everybody's someone. Right? We have nutritionists, we have psychologists, we have doctors. And I was the bon vivant. They say I was the guy that want to enjoy life.
Yeah.
So I knew jiu-jitsu was going to be my I have no other option.
Paul, let's ask this question in a little bit of a different way for you, since like you're not a gym owner, right? But if you had, when did you start when did you start doing jiu-jitsu?
So I started doing martial arts. I mean, it's been sort of a lifelong thing. In fact, we talked
like
about
we all
Wing
have
Chun.
like the mom put us into Taekwondo,
Taekwondo,
right?
But then even in college, I did a Vietnamese martial art. In law school, I did Wing Chun. So I have a dummy. Do you know the wooden dummy?
Yeah.
In my
I practice when I go
in my
there.
home gym.
Yeah.
I have a wooden dummy.
Okay.
Which I think there's benefits from all sorts of martial arts. I get it. Jiu-jitsu is like the real deal. And I know you had the guy, what's the McDojo guy? Like, all the bullshit.
Rob from
There's so
McDojo.
much like bullshit death touches. I'm not an idiot. Like, I don't think that stuff works. But I have a video of Rodrigo.
Hey, I go to the garage there and I like
messing around with the wooden dummy. So I've been doing it a long time. I don't know what the question was, but if I wasn't a lawyer, I would love to be a gym owner.
I was going to go if I was going to say I didn't know you started so young, but I was going to say if you had found martial arts younger, would you ever see yourself with a career in martial arts and not in law?
I mean, I like it so much. I think there's so many benefits, physical and mental stuff that we talked about, that as I get older and I think about retiring from the practice of law, and I've said this a few times, I'm fine with that. Like, I'm looking forward to stopping the fighting in court. Yeah. But I hope never to have to stop jiu-jitsu and rolling. Like, so really, if I had to choose one, that's the one I love more. Yeah. Being a lawyer is what I do. It's not who I am. But I feel like in some sense, and you and I have debated whether we're hobbyists or not in jiu-jitsu, jiu-jitsu is really a part of it.
Remind me to show you my new rash guard that we designed with Flow and Roll.
Okay.
I got a picture of it. You're going to like it. Or maybe not like it.
I love rash guards.
I like rash guards.
I got one for you. I'm going to get you one when we make it.
So when he got his black belt, when I promote him black belt, he get a cool speech because I brag about, like, he's a black belt in law, right? And that was cool because when he got his black belt, he was mentioning, like, that was even more important. It's just to show, like, I like to see guys like Joe Rogan, for instance, on his podcast, right? You can see the way he talking about jiu-jitsu, how important. Even though you have your career, you have your name, you have whatever you have, jiu-jitsu feels like it's
a superpower.
It's a superpower.
When I tell people, like, people have asked me when, they now found out that I got promoted, like, oh, how long have you been training? And in my mind, I go 9.5 years, and I'm like, barely. Because, I mean, there's people that have been doing this for decades, right? And most people use like, wow, that's a long time to be dedicated to one thing. And I'm like, man, I hadn't even fucking started. Yep. Like, it's like I'm a baby still. Like, this is like I'm in my infancy still. I feel. So, are you somebody that watches a lot of jiu-jitsu online? Are you like are you watching the Fight to Wins and
everything?
And what about like move videos and like move of the weeks and things from people?
So I'm not really too much instructional for some reason. I feel like even though I am practitioner for so long, it can be very confusing. Yeah. But I like to watch fights. I like to watch like a biography, like something like a Frog would do something about this particular fighter and his day
like that stuff
of training. So I watch, and like I say, in my house we all train. Yeah, I have 4 kids. The wife trains that I train. If you go to my garage, like you see those surfers, they have surfboards all over the garage. Yeah, I have gis all over the garage.
Did your wife train before she met you? Did you meet her on the mat? She was already doing jiu-jitsu
before me. Before me. And I'm sponsored by a company. I gotta give a shout out. Can I give a shout out?
Sure, absolutely.
To Show Row. So Show Row, I've been with the company for the past 7 years, I think, and they spoil me. Yeah, that's awesome. I have gis all over the house. I have hats, beanies. I live jiu-jitsu.
That's awesome.
Sometimes cool. I want to buy something different just because I don't have it. Everything that I have is jiu-jitsu related. I talk jiu-jitsu. My family does jiu-jitsu. We only watch jiu-jitsu at home.
My ex-wife used to tell me, it looks like jiu-jitsu threw up on you. Because I was always in a shirt, a hat, the tattoo, like everything. She's just like, she'd be like, really? We're going to dinner. Does it have to be a Flow and Roll shirt? And I'd be like, all right, well, and I have to start buying other clothes.
My wife says the same thing. I've got
like,
so
really?
much
I tell everyone. But as I've, even though I love my Flow and Roll gear, and I'll wear, like, if I'm just by myself, out and about, whatever. But I definitely, in certain environments, kind of don't want everybody to know, you know, like I don't need everybody to know I'm doing jiu-jitsu.
Forcing
Where
myself.
before I was like, you wanted everybody to know, you know.
Yeah.
And like, but like show and roll, somebody that doesn't know show and roll, they don't know what
They
that
don't know,
is.
right,
Versus
right.
like it just saying jiu-jitsu
Oh, yeah,
versus like a
yes,
brand and
yes.
and they don't
You don't
understand
have
it. But
cauliflower ear, do you?
no, I do not.
So sometimes I try to blend in, right? So I go like out black and everything, and I have this nasty cauliflower.
Yeah.
Everybody like
You're not blending in
"It's
anywhere."
jiu-jitsu."
I was
don't
just in
blend
New
in.
York.
You need to be wearing these all the time.
I was just in New York, and we went to see a show, and we went to dinner before the show, and the waiter comes over and he asks us if we want a drink, and it was during the week, and I had a mediation the next day, so we said no, just water, and he goes, I'm sending you a bottle of champagne on the house, and I said, huh? And he goes, you do jiu-jitsu, and he looked at my ear, and my ear's fucked up, and Rodrigo knows when that happened, but turns out he was a Marcelo Garcia black belt.
Oh, yeah?
He's Marcelo Garcia's 35th black belt, and it drove my wife crazy. We ended up just talking about jiu-jitsu, and he sent us drinks and dessert and that.
Yeah.
But that's the beauty. That's what
it's
we live,
amazing.
right?
It's
If you
amazing.
don't do that, you don't understand. I have so many stories about that. Me going to immigration, Georgia, coming back from Brazil, and as I get there, the immigration guy stand up. Oh, professor. I was just like, I had no idea who the guy was, right? So you do jiu-jitsu, you teach, right? I say, I teach. Yeah. I train with Traveling in Atlanta. I say, great. So he didn't even ask me anything. Just I said,
I was
Past
at
the
UFC,
immigration.
just real quick, that just reminded us, we've gone to several fights
UFCs,
together,
yes.
and I've been with Rodrigo, and we always get good seats, and people come over, oh, Vanderlei!
Silva. I get that all the time. I get that all the time.
That's a good one. I like that.
The best one ever was flying back from, there was a UFC in Vegas, and I was there with Rodrigo, with Nogueira. So with there, actually, unfortunately, he lost that match with Frank Mir.
Okay.
So I'm back at the airport, and I have this regular shirt, and I'm sitting down on the phone with his mom on the phone, and then I have this lady coming in with her niece, whatever. Hey, do you do jiu-jitsu? You fight? So yeah, I saw your ear. Yeah, I do jiu-jitsu. Would you mind to take a picture with her?
They have no clue who you are.
No
Did
clue
you think?
who I was, 'cause we're in Vegas for the fights. I have a huge cauliflower ear. So I took a picture with the lady, and she made a question. Are you a fighter? And I say, yes, I am, right? Dude, the whole airport came over. Everybody was
And start taking pictures with you.
I was so embarrassed. I keep telling his mom on the phone, man, I don't know what to put in my head. Talk to me. And the guy's like, dude, that fight last night was awesome. I'm just like, all right, great.
I'd be walking down in the mall with this guy. I'd be like, hey, look, everybody, Vanderlei Silva.
That's essentially it.
All right, so our last question. I always say that this is the most important question I could ask you today. Do you or do you not wash your jiu-jitsu belt?
Never did.
Never.
Never
From
did.
white to black. Never.
White to black.
Never
Never
saw
did.
the washing machine.
Never. We're talking about that
Paul.
before.
Yeah, you've asked me this
Yeah.
before. So I never did. I thought that you're not supposed to. But then you brought up the fact that, like, with all this funk that gets on your gi,
Yeah.
it gets on your belt too.
Yeah.
Now I don't have to worry about it because I wash my rash guards.
It doesn't. It doesn't. So I got a good one explanation about that. My point of view on that. This whole debate, should I wash the belt or not? I never washed for a couple different reasons, right? Growing up in Brazil in the 90s, we didn't have the dryer, right? So the belt that you use in the morning, you use at night. It does not dry. If you wash your belt in the morning, it will be wet at night. So you just don't wash. So you're just growing up training with the belt, and that's the one piece that you don't wash because it's too thick. Now comes the question, why you don't wash now? Because there was a habit that I created in the 90s. But now, does that transmit disease? I don't think so. It's actually on top of your gi. So I have a rash guard, I have a underwear, I have the pants, I have the top. The belt is sitting on the top of everything.
It's also rubbing against.
But it still gets wet. The mat's wet.
I think worse is the partner that you roll with that don't shower.
Yeah.
Or they have this huge ringworm nails.
Yeah.
That to me is much more worse than a belt.
I have always washed my belt to brown belt. I've had, except for white, I always had two belts. Just had maybe the coach gave me one, and then I bought one, or with Flow and Roll, I'd get it from Flow and Roll. So I always had two. So I'd just come home and throw everything in the wash. Never thought about it until people started to say stuff, and then we made it a joke on the show, and then it became like a debate thing.
Wagner wanted to kill you.
Wagner. We interviewed Wagner in the Miami studio, and he was sitting right here, and he was just like, when I said I wash it, he just looked at me like I was fucking crazy. He's like, "You're not supposed to wash your belt." In his mind, he was kind of like almost like trying to cheat by showing your coach like you've trained more, right? Because if you don't wash it, it still can wear and fade naturally from just, you know, getting wet and training and rubbing and whatever. Right. And I was like, I've never thought of it that way. I get it, but I go, my coach knows when I'm there and when I'm not there. And now, like just recently we sign in. So there's no getting around. Like I have trained this many times. Right. But I mean, he looked at me like I was a complete moron. Like, why would you wash it? Now, just let me say this. I've only had my black belt since December 17th. I have not washed it once.
It looks old already.
But no,
it looks really tough and old.
I do not think if I wash it, it'll be very sporadic. I am spraying I have some Neutral Zone Clean. I spray Neutral Zone on it.
He's good with his sponsors.
I spray Lysol on it. But I'm hanging it. I put it in the shower over the bar. I spray it both sides, and then I hang it to dry. But I do wash my gi. So I just feel like I'm going to have this belt for a really long time. Mm-hmm. There's obviously one of the most special belts you can get. Am I ever going to get anything beyond this besides stripes? I don't know if I'll live that long. Mm-hmm. So like this holds a different meaning for me. So I am essentially cleaning it to keep it, free of germs, but it has not seen the wash yet. Yes. I'll probably wash. There's got to come a point that no matter how much Lysol you spray on it, it's going to smell.
I like the idea, which I know is not true. The people saying like the white belt, the original was only 2 belts. I know it's not true. Mm. It was a white belt, and the white belt that gets so old that it becomes black.
Yeah.
So it's a cool idea, and that's why to me, like I like to let the belt get old on their own. Yeah. Like for instance, the belt that I promote, Paul. So if you go to my office, I have tons of black belts in my wall, right? And everybody asks me, why you have so many black belts? I like to wear my black belts. So when I promote my students, especially the ones that I really care about it, I like to give my own black belt. Okay. So the black belt that Paul have is a black belt that I've been using for many years.
I will admit that.
Did you smell it when you put it on?
I never washed that belt.
It smells like Rodrigo.
Did the smell waft up?
Listen,
do not wash that belt. I never washed that belt before.
It was an incredibly getting the black belt was a special moment. Getting the black belt that he took off his waist and tied around me was, it was an unbelievable moment. However, I love it because it's not only is it my coach's belt, which means so much to me, it's a ratty, beat up black belt.
Never washed before.
So, do you have any other black belts?
Yeah,
that's the only black belt?
He gave me a new black belt as well.
Okay.
And I'm like deciding which to wear. I'm like, his belt looks so much.
Sometimes they want to save. So they want to save. Yeah. I give the one that I'm using.
I would probably, would be one that I would put, I would put that somewhere. Like this is the one my coach gave me and then wear it. Okay.
It says Rodrigo Mendes on it too.
Thank you to Feito IT and AV, specializing in commercial and residential automation, security cameras, CCTV, POS, and more. Check them out at feitoitav.com or call 305-428-2515 and let them know the dummy sent you. Special thank you to the crew over at Flow and Roll for all their support. Flow and Roll is renowned for their incredible no-gi rash guards, shorts, and leggings. Flow and Roll has quickly become the premier custom apparel provider for academies big and small throughout the United States. Reach out today to discuss your custom order and ask about their incredible pre-order program. You can send an email to flowandroll@gmail.com or visit their Instagram at flow_n_roll and shoot them a direct message. And yes, they can create an awesome custom gi for your academy as well. Visit flowandroll.com to check out their awesome designs, and while you're there, pick up a Jiu-Jitsu Dummy Signature Tee exclusively at flowandroll.com. And remember, you'll get 20% off your purchase of T-shirts, rash guards, or gis with code JJD.
So listen, thank you guys for doing this. Thank you for doing it again. Thank you for bringing in Rodrigo. I appreciate you guys coming out. You mentioned Show and Roll. Do you have any other sponsors or anybody else you want to shout out? You can take a second and say hello.
Yeah, I'm sponsored. I have this company that helps me. Like he's been with me I've been with them for so long, which is Show and Roll, and Yoga for BJJ.
Okay.
Which I try to get better all the time, but I'm sponsored by them and try to do my best to get more flexible. I think we all should, especially as we pass over 40, working on flexibility. It's very, very important, and we neglect that.
Sure.
And I mean, we don't work out legs. We work out top. We don't stretch. Right. So those are the companies that I like to do a shout out.
Any shout outs? You want to say hello to anybody?
Just
shout out your sponsor, Dude. What does that say up there, Dude?
Dude. He's a 10th planet. He wants to make sure he's a dude.
Yeah, is that a 10th planet hat?
He's a dude.
Yeah. No, I don't have sponsors, but hello to my family, Leslie and Jared and Dylan.
Awesome. All right, guys. Listen, thank you for doing this again. I appreciate you. Everybody out there, you can check us out at Jiu-Jitsu Dummies on Instagram for all the ways to watch, listen, support. The link will take you to Apple Podcasts, YouTube, just everything, all of our sponsors that we mentioned here today. You can check me out at Uncle Milty BJJ on Instagram. And that's it. Thank you for watching and listening, everybody. Peace, love, Jiu-Jitsu. Us.